What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Prismatic Evolutions and the other SV era Elite Trainer Box specialty sets. But before we get into that, I do want to show you guys Mega Dream. This is going to be Ascended Heroes in English. And just looking at some of the sales on the top cards. So the Mega Gengar EX out the gate, $600 on TCG Player. That's only based on one sale. So I don't know if it's actually going to be that high. The Mega Dragonite EX, the gold card, sitting around $493. I really hate these gold cards. I don't enjoy them at all. I know they're going to be expensive because they're difficult to pull. I know some people like them, and if you do, awesome, that's great. Like, don't mind my opinion, but I'm just not a fan of them at all. The Mega Dragonite EX SIR, I actually don't mind this card. Like, it's better than what I expected the Mega Dragonite EX Special Illustration Rare to be. This is sitting around $278 USD. The Pikachu EX, which I think looks a little bit derpy, but some people like it, around $215 USD. That's based on 3 sales, I believe. The Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX, this is sitting around $165. And Zoroark around $137. You have Marnie's Grimmsnarl in here around $100, and Iono's Bellibolt $106 as well. So not terrible. These are obviously the Japanese prices, so I do expect the English versions, at least for most of these cards, to be more expensive. And I think there is going to be a large set value out the gate just because it seems like allocation's not going to be super high. We're only seeing the, 2-pack and 3-pack blisters as the first wave of the release. So pack prices are probably going to be high. A lot of people already who know more than me have speculated that. So I do expect these cards to be worth a pretty penny out the gate. I did want to just share that before we get into the video, which it is Friday, so I did the ETB update in the spreadsheet. If you're in there, you can go look at all the numbers. 151, I do want to just touch on the fact that we're still seeing more supply come to market. I think there was a little bit over 200 ETBs listed below a 20% leg up from ETB loose pricing on TCG Player, so 350 times 1.2. I think it was around 420, 430, something like that. A lot of ETBs. To give you guys some context, I think back in the summer when these were very hot, pushing towards $400, we maybe had like a case or two listed below a 20% leg up. So a lot of people are trying to move their 151 ETBs currently. If we look at card prices, a lot of them have come back down. The Charizard EX at around $235. Blastoise and Venusaur, these are back in the $75 to $85 range. Zapdos is sub $70 again. And then a lot of everybody's favorite illustration rares like the Charmander, the Squirtle, the Alakazam's and SIR, the Bulbasaur. A lot of these cards have been in like that $30 to $55 range. They really haven't moved too much over the past year and a half. So still decently strong set value there. Nothing crazy though compared to a couple sets we'll look at later on in the video. Paldean Fates, this one's actually doing fairly well, all things considered. At this point, obviously got hit very hard. All-time highs were around $300, came back down to around $220. We're seeing sales now anywhere between like $230 and $250. There's only about 2 cases worth of ETBs below like $300 again on eBay North America. So based on the sell-through rate that I'm seeing, I wouldn't be surprised if we churn through that and we get back to $300 maybe sometime next year, especially if things do start to rebound. This set is just so top heavy. The Mew EX, we're sitting around $525. The Charizard EX around $250 still. And then the Gardevoir EX, I think that's a beautiful card, around $118, but then it drops all the way down to the Pikachu Baby Shiny around $30. Iono's in there around 25, the Mew EX around 20. So super top heavy, doing decently well. Not as much supply out there compared to something like 151 or basically anything else on the list. Even Shrouded Fable, even though this didn't get reprinted, there's still a ton of ETBs out there. They're only sitting around $76 loose. I think when we did the case premium video yesterday, the most recent case that sold was around $675, I think, or $750. It was very cheap. There wasn't really any premium on Shrouded Fable. When you look at the set list, just nothing exciting about this set. Pheasantipede EX, a playable card, the most expensive, around $45. Earthen Vessel, same deal, $42.70. Basic Dark Energy, $40. And then we get to the Persian at $40.04. That is the 4th most expensive card. Sure, you have the Duskull in here. You have the Houndoom. I love those illustration rares. I think they're great. But the reality is, they're not enough to carry a set. And even though there are some decent illustration rares in here, it's just never going to be something that people really want to open in the future. And when you listen to, people who have larger positions than myself, who run rip and ships, it's just not something that gets opened. A lot of them already have 5-10 years worth of packs just based on their average rip rate for those sets over the past few months. So Shrouded Fable, I'm not a fan of it. If you have a little bit of exposure, great. One thing I will say though is I saw a lot of the PCTBs for Shrouded Fable selling on eBay over the past 14 days. Maybe that is just a very small sample size, or maybe it's also going to be an indicator of things to come in the PC ETP market. So maybe something for a couple of you guys to pay attention to. Prismatic Evolutions, this is where things get interesting. There was only a little bit more supply on the market this week compared to last week. Sales volume was actually back up over the past 14 days. I think the last time we talked about the SVR ETB is Black Bolt had actually overtaken Prismatic as the top selling ETB on the secondary market. But now Prismatic is back. I think it was somewhere between 20 and 25 ETBs per day by it now. And I think over the past 7 days, it was actually higher than the 14-day average. It was about 33 or 34 ETBs. And I'm assuming a lot of that has to do with the Dollar General ETBs hitting the secondary market. There were tons of listings with that $40 yellow price tag in the top right-hand corner, the front side of the ETB. So I will be interested to see, how many more sales we see of those Dollar General ETBs. I imagine there's going to be a decent amount. And then if Costco gets more, great, then I'm sure we'll see the price continue to come down. You'll see a lot of sales at this point sub $100, like $95, $99 plus shipping and tax. So it wouldn't surprise me in the future if these are sub $100 again. It seems like Pokemon is just super horny for Prismatic and continues to print this into the ground. With that said though, a lot of the cards still fairly expensive. The Umbreon EX, we're sitting around $1,050. The Sylveon's around $325. Leafeon $260. Espeon's around $200. Glaceon's around $200. Vaporeon's a little bit less. Roaring Moon a little bit less than that. Flareon, Jolteon, Eevee, rounding out the top 10 cards. But I did want to show you guys something because it is interesting. If you go look at the PSA pop reports for a lot of these special illustration rares, the gem rate is below 40%, and in some cases it's actually below 30%. For example, the Leafeon here, 2,605 tens, total pop 7,168. If you scroll down a little bit here, if I can do this fancy dancy, Vaporeon EX, 1,400 tens, 5860 total pop. Glaceon 2200 tens, 6400 pop almost. If we go down a little bit further, you can see the Jolteon 1887 tens, 6139 total pop. And even the Umbreon, if you come down here, I think the gem rate's around 35%, 3,696 tens, 11,274 total population. I think that is something that is helping the price of these cards hold up, just because if the gem rates were a lot higher, I imagine we'd see the raw copies not go for as much. And in turn, that would probably mean that the ETBs and the other sealed products would also be worth less. But thanks to Pokemon just printing the ever-living shit out of this set and also just having terrible card quality, we're still seeing these prices hold up and the value be there for the sealed investors. Now moving on, Black Bolt ETBs sitting around $87 still. A lot more on the market this week compared to last week. I don't really know why that's the case. It doesn't really seem like there was one seller who came on the market and had 400, 500 ETBs making up the difference. Sales volume was still very strong. I think it was actually higher than the last time I did the update in the spreadsheet. So that's very impressive for Black Bolt. Not really much to say here. I think when you look at all the cards, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens to the prices after a reprint or a restock of the set, whether that's in ETB form, booster bundle form, maybe just loose packs in some ancillary products. But for now, you still have respectable value in the top 1, 5, and 10 cards with the Victini, the Zekrom. The one thing I'll say is I'm just a little bit less excited about ETBs in general now because Pokemon has printed so much prismatic. So in the future, it's making me start to wonder, are they going to do that with Black Bolt? Are they going to do that with White Flare? I'm assuming they're going to do it with Ascended Heroes for sure, just 'cause that set is looking incredibly deep and exciting, but maybe Black Bolt, White Flare, they just aren't good enough to get the top priority from Pokemon, and maybe we see less of them hit the market, which ultimately means prices go up faster. So that could entirely happen. And then White Flare, again, not too much to say here, around $80, decent amount of supply on the secondary market. I think sales volume was down a little bit over the past 14 days compared to the last time I did the update, but still fairly strong, like way better than 151, way better than Shrouded Fable. I think if you actually combine the sales volume of 151, Paldean Fates, and Shrouded Fable, you still wouldn't be at about 80% the sales volume of White Flare. So that should give you an idea of about how well these ETBs are selling. But that's really all I want to get to in this video. If you guys got some value out of it, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below for the algorithm. It really does help out a ton getting these videos pushed out to more people. And I appreciate you guys being here, supporting the channel. Also, if you are interested in One Piece, I know a lot more people are interested in that nowadays over the past month. I did just make another big purchase today. I'm going to talk about it in the video I upload on the secondary channel tonight. So if you're interested, you can go check that out as well. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.